Kelly Lee's with us today as well, and I'm going to ask Kelly Lee to record our session. So then we'll have a copy of it. For if you are only able to participate in part of it today, we'll have a recording of today's session as well. So first of all, let me welcome everyone. We've got participants from all over BC today, and I'll start with introducing myself. My name's McCooey, and I'm a business advisor. I'm also working on this skills project. I'm a business advisor with Women's Enterprise Centre, and I'm located in our Victoria office. I'd like to thank everyone for taking time today to join us in these special sessions that we've been setting out to connect our women entrepreneurs from all across BC. Women's Enterprise Centre has a long history of supporting women entrepreneurs. And this, at times like this, when we're in the middle of a pandemic that has ramifications for all business owners all across BC, and of course across Canada, across the world, people experiencing the challenges. So we're here today to bring you some resources, but also to hear from you about what it is ways that we can help to support you. What are some things that you're doing, some best practices that you can share with the others that are on our webinar this morning. So we've got a great sharing session lined up for you today. Thank you. So a few tips about our webinars. There is an opportunity, and you'll see some slides come up where we're specifically wanting you to connect with us. So to share your stories, to ask your questions. And you'll see on this slide here where there's the chat. You know, you just click on at the top of your screen for your Zoom. You're going to see a chat. Just click on chat, and that way you can communicate with us and ask your questions or share your stories. You can see right on the bar there. It might be on the very bottom of your screen, or it might be on the very top of your screen, but just click on chat and you can type your question right there. The other thing we want you to know is that sometimes Zoom can get overloaded. There have been some challenges. We've actually, knock on wood, we've been lucky with our Zoom, but if something happens that you do lose the link, just go back, connect back in, and you'll be joining the session again. So if something happens, just join back in, connect with your link that you were sent, and you'll be back into our Zoom. So today, what we're going to be covering is these 6 brief topics, and then make sure that we've got the time for your questions. But Women's Enterprise Centre, we have been helping women through identifying things that you can control at a time like this. We're going to be talking about following public health authorities, the importance of those pieces, because this is a health challenge as well as an economic challenge, and we want to make sure that everyone's on board. We want to talk about managing your cash flow. And that's a really key piece. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it today, but we're going to touch on it and send you some tools as well. We're going to talk about the fine art of negotiating. If ever there was a time to be negotiating, it's now. And we're also going to talk about building resilience and moving forward and looking at developing your action plan. And those were some of the stories and connections that what other women in business are doing may be helpful for you in your business. So again, just an overview about Women's Enterprise Centre. We help women business owners to realize their business potential through business loans up to $150,000, through professional advice and resources, through skills training and skills development pieces like what we're doing right here, right now, mentoring and both group peer mentoring programs, individual one-on-one mentoring programs, but especially right now, a supportive community. And never has that been more important than right now. We want you to feel like you are part of a community that can support you, especially during the tough times. And I'm going to give you some details about how it is and what it is that we can do to support you. Right now, if you are one of our loans clients, you currently have a loan, we have made special concessions for our loans clients that are specific to supporting loans clients. We have set up these weekly, they are going to be weekly COVID-19, we're called Strength in Numbers webinars that are free of charge. Also, a number of our past webinars we are making available to you. So some special ways that we're supporting entrepreneurs. And of course, inquiry, INQUIRY, inquiry at womensenterprise.ca is where you can ask questions if you think of something after today, or you know someone who is looking for some support or ideas. You can ask a business advisor as well through inquiry at womensenterprise.ca or at our toll-free number that you'll see on our website as well. But Carrie Lee, I'm going to ask you to show the COVID resource page that's on our website. Here on this slide, you can see we have a COVID-19 resource page. This page is being updated. As you all know, the information about government programs is changing daily. So, for example, some of the common programs like the wage subsidy program, it was initially launched as a 10% wage subsidy. It was later, 4 days later, relaunched by the government as a 75% wage subsidy. We know, we are aware that there are gaps in that program, and we want you to know that Women's Enterprise Center senior management are taking those concerns and outlining those gaps to government. So we are serving as your voice as well. But if you look on this a page on our website, and you'll get a link to it as well today after the webinar. When you look at this, you will see that things are divided into personal supports as well as specific business supports. We want you to know that it's up to you to determine whether or not your business qualifies for these special supports. But be patient. You know, a lot of this information is brand new. The phone lines are busy. The website might not have all the answers. But later today, when we're talking about cash flow, keeping track, documenting everything that's happening in your business right now is going to be very important. We don't know if there may be something after the initial offerings are there. We don't know what future programs may be rolled out. So for that reason, be sure to keep very close track of your COVID-19 losses, your COVID-19 expenses. Be on top of that part of your business right now. But check our website, and we will also send you a link to this resource. At this time, we would like to know what else you need. You know, what is it right now, information or supports that would be most helpful to you at this time? This is where we can bring these forward on your behalf. We can attempt to connect you to resources that will be helpful. But what do you need? And I encourage you at this point to go to your Zoom click on chat and let us know. We can work to develop a webinar or make sure that you're connected to ones that are already available. If we know how we can help and what it is that you need, that's the best way that we can be a support for women entrepreneurs across BC. So please go ahead. This is your opportunity to let us know, what do you need? What would be helpful at this time? And then Carrie Lee is going to read some of those questions or comments.
Hi, Dawn. As those are coming in, we did, when we sent out our e-blast yesterday and the registration for this, ask people to submit some questions.
Yes.
So we have those lists, and I just want to share with everybody that's here today. A lot of those questions are on the financial side, right? How do we survive COVID beyond deferrals that we might be getting, right?
Yeah.
And there's lots of, which you reference, lots of questions about what am I entitled to, right? Do I qualify? So again, if you go to the canada.gc.ca website, it's got the most relevant, current, and up-to-date information. There's questions about lease payments, right? If you can't meet that obligation. And we are going to have a session coming up next week on that, all about leases, contracts, insurance, you know, some of the planning that you could be doing now to overcome some of those challenges, and we'll send that out to you. A lot of questions as well around sales, right? Struggling with what do I post on social media? How do I continue to sell and try to maintain my income and stay in touch with our clients? We had one comment that came in, which, you know, we all said that we love this, and it was more inspiration than a question. And she said, I don't see this as game over so much as game on. So again, when we're talking about, you know, pivoting and adapting, some inspiration words there. And then a lot of questions coming in around closing, right? How do we know when it's time to close up for good? We've had serious financial income impacts. You know, what's that going to mean? So again, talking about that cash flow piece, that's going to be important. Mm-hmm. We've got some challenges for people that were just in that startup phase, just, you know, gaining traction and momentum. And then again, back on that financial side is the debt. Do I want to take on more debt if already we were, you know, just kind of making it by month to month? So, you know, again, a lot of that we're going to address as we go through here. So we'll leave the chat open. I'll continue to monitor that throughout. So as things come up, please type them in there. And you can select if you want it just to come to Dawn and myself. If you just type in the chat to all panelists, then it's a private question that comes in. So you can do that. But Dawn, I think what we'll do now is if you just want to continue through, okay, we'll probably address a lot of these questions as we go through. And please in the chat, type anything else that we're not addressing. So right now I'm going to continue on for you, Dawn, and I will pop in and out as appropriate with questions as they come in.
Terrific. Thank you, Carrie Lee, and thank you to all of you for the questions that have been coming in. This is our opportunity to provide what we can, and I'm delighted that we're having one coming up about leases next week. It's an important topic right now. But one of the things we want to touch base on, just one of the key messages, is where you use your energy. You know, in any kind of a challenging situation, one of the first things that can be helpful is understanding where the things that you can control and the things that you cannot control. You know, that's going to help to put into focus those immediate tasks. Put into perspective those things that can be more productive for you and help you to develop an action plan. As one client as Carrie Lee just read out, you know, it's game on for me right now. For some clients, it's game on. It's like, I talked to a client yesterday who said to me, I have not worked for 8 years to develop this business to roll over. I'm game on. And, you know, these are focusing on what can I do, not what can I have no control over. None of us, not even all of us together, not even in strength in numbers, we can't control when all of this will be over. We cannot change the regulations governing what businesses can or cannot be open. Who qualifies. We can have a voice, but if you don't qualify for a program, It's not something you likely can change. So it's really spending that energy on what can you control. We typically, as human beings, we typically spend a lot of time, a lot of energy where we can't be productive. So imagine that time and money and resources being spent on areas where you can be productive, where you can control what's happening in your business. I like to use an ABC just because it's so easy. It's easy to remember. If you make an assumption, that's your A. If you make an assumption or have a belief about something, it's going to move to B, which is how you behave, what actions you actually take in your business. And then it goes to C, which is there will be certain consequences, regardless of what behavior or actions you take. So start with the A. Start with what is my assumption or belief about this? Question it, and then create your behaviors that can be more productive in the areas that you can have some control over. So it's just one of the key messages in any kind of a challenging situation. Stop and think, what can I control? Because I can move in that direction. Let's look at following public health authorities. This is very basic. We're all aware of, information as well as misinformation. Stay informed, certain travel, certain events, certain things that could affect your business, that could affect your supply chain. Be in touch with your suppliers. Understand what health authorities or regulations are affecting their supply. But be sure, above all, is to be accurate, with your employees, with your customers. Source information and updates from reliable health authorities. That's just another key message we want to touch on. And now the important one. Managing cash flow. If you're thinking about cash flow and it's cleaning the kitchen is a way better option than looking at your cash flow forecast, you're not alone. But now more than ever, if your business is struggling financially, and that is what is happening for most small businesses right now, now is the time to manage your cash flow, to look at what is happening on a monthly or even better at this point, a weekly basis in your cash flow. You need to prioritize your payments. Taking a look at cash outflows is the most important piece. What's going out the door in order to preserve your working capital? Again, if this is something that you're not familiar with, Women's Enterprise Center has a template, a cash flow template we're going to show you in just a couple of minutes. But we have a template, and it's user-friendly, and it's something that's going to be immensely helpful. What it will do, remember I talked about A, B, and C, making an assumption and then behaving according to that assumption and then having consequences? That ABC is important when you think about cash flow. Don't make assumptions about what is happening with your cash flow. Dig down deep, spend some time, and actually look at it so that you can make important decisions. Many of the questions that have come to the business advisors are about, should I take a loan? Even if I qualify, you have to determine, can I pay it back? Your cash flow forecasting is going to help you to make those decisions. When you're looking at those outflows, you know that some payments cannot be unattended to. They have to be made. What are the ones? And we're going to talk about negotiation shortly as well. But look at those ones, but understand that in these extraordinary times, that there are concessions being made. There are landlords that are participating in supporting their tenants. BC Hydro and ICBC, these are examples of corporations and crown corporations that are setting up deferred payments, reduced payment. You know, take a look at what is available before paying that bill. Your taxes, your GST, these are very, very important to be on top of. But look at what is available, and more importantly, what can be deferred and still paid. Your cash flow is going to help you with those answers. It's up to you, again, to negotiate within your business, and we'll talk specifically about negotiation next. But I want you to look at this next slide that's got a sample of a cash flow forecast. Kelly, if I can get you to put up that slide. It's not nearly as challenging as it might sound. Cash flow forecast is a fancy term for what's coming into the business and what's going out. In extreme times, like right now that many of you are involved in, cash inflows might be the selling of some equipment. You know, that could create a cash inflow, or an extended line of credit from your bank. Something that, you know, you may access a loan, so that those cash inflows might not just be your revenues from sales, if sales have slowed down or stopped altogether. So take a look at what's coming in and what you can predict over a period of time of what might be coming in. And then especially concentrate on the what's going out and what that looks like. And you'll see on this template, and again, you will all get a copy of this. You'll see on this template that it shows you then what's in the bank at the end of the month. So no guessing, no ostrich, you know, put head in the sand and not looking at it. If you look at your cash flow, it can help you to predict where things will be 6 months from now. You can do a worst case scenario, you can do a best case scenario. You can actually play with this template. And it's the number one piece that we really are talking to entrepreneurs about right now, is managing that cash flow. So again, a lot of the financial questions are going to be answered if you take the time to look at a cash flow forecast. There's help available if you get stuck. We can work with you with this. You can ask for help. But the template that we just showed you, it is user friendly. It's very, very doable. Or if you've got a child home from school and this is their area of expertise, bring them on in. Ask for help.
And Dawn, that cash flow template's available at the website that you can see on the screen now, the wec.ca financial fitness. The cash flow template is available on that page as well.
Terrific. Thank you. Thanks, Carrie Lee. Lots of tools. This is just one, but it's probably one of the most important. So let's look at the art of negotiation. You know, people, this is an important message. People want to see your business succeed. They want to see your business survive. I've used the term, sometimes, you know, your landlord right now might be your partner in business, not in an official sense, but the commercial leases that are happening out there right now, they can't afford for businesses to walk away. You are in a good state to be negotiating with your landlord. And again, as Carrie Lee mentioned, we're going to have a webinar that's coming up specifically about leases and contracts. One commercial real estate agent said to me recently that likely pandemics will be covered in future leases. Many of them right now may not have this covered, but it may be in the future something that will be included in lease contracts. That aside, this is the time to discuss with your landlord, with anyone to whom you owe money right now. Communication, communication, and communication. Don't walk away from. Take a look at what can be negotiated. Someone had a question specifically for this session today about insurance and paying for insurance when it's not needed at this precise moment. Your insurer will be open to discussing a delayed payment, or maybe a hold on insurance, but you don't know that unless you connect with them directly. You want to stay in your good books with anyone that you're negotiating with. So approach it with the idea that there's something that you can do as well. One of the examples that I heard of recently is where a tenant offered to do some leasehold improvements, painting out of the premises for the landlord in lieu of rent. So there was one whole month of rent was forgiven in exchange for painting out the premises. So there's lots of wiggle room or creativity that you might be able to use when you come into this art of negotiation. And Women's Enterprise Center has a webinar recording of, actually it's an audio recording of the art of negotiation. We recently had a webinar on the art of negotiation. Use this time to look at negotiating. I've heard some great stories of what people have done to be able to negotiate, and now it's time, if you've got an example you'd like to share, I've given you a couple of examples. If you click on chat and you could share an example of something you've done or something you've heard about someone else has done, please do share that. There's lots of examples out there, and sometimes this is the opportunity for us to learn from each other. And Carrie Lee, if you have one come up there, we can share that.
Yes, there's nothing coming in on the chat, but I have a friend actually that is involved in a commercial lease, and she was able to negotiate for 6 months down to 50%. So deferring some of those lease payments to make it manageable. And again, you know, she might have to negotiate again depending on how long this goes on. But yeah, she made the ask and got a reduction, so that would help her out a lot. I'm getting a couple examples come in now. One person is saying they negotiated a 90-day term with a main supplier so that they can keep new inventory coming in and offering fresh. It just says fresh, so I don't know if that's good or materials, but yeah, so just again reaching out, and if you're typically net 30 and you ask for an extension, your suppliers want to get paid. So you know, if they need to give you a bit more time, that's better than not getting paid at all. So yeah, Dawn, good examples of our own leases, suppliers, etc.
Absolutely.
Or even negotiating, you know, no interest or penalties if you're paying late, getting those out, because those can add as well and cause some stress for people. So all those little things that we can think about.
Absolutely. That's a great reminder about interest-free or no penalty, you know, because again, a lot of the questions that are coming in are financial, like what if I do defer my rent for a month? I still have to pay it back, right? So again, your cash flow, you can negotiate you know, paying that one extra month over a longer period of time, which is going to help your cash flow. So, you know, yes, making those decisions about what can be deferred, what can be penalty free, you know, where is the interest clock stopped, or is it keeping on going? Like, how do I manage all of this? But take a look at all of those things. And if you do negotiate something, with your landlord or with anyone, get it in writing. Be sure to get it in writing. Some important pieces in difficult times. Make sure that you get it in writing. Keep track, document, kind of mobilize what you can, then move into strategizing. Pull it all together, and then strategize about how you can move forward.
We have a great comment here, Dawn. Somebody saying that the landlord offered the 50% for now and pay the rest later, but that's not working for them because, again, still, if you've got no revenue coming in, it makes it difficult. And they say, I'm thinking of going back and negotiating again, saying I can't defer because it's not viable. So again, yes, you know, but what's good now might not be what's good in 3 months. So yes, you can always negotiate and ask for more as well. And again, you know, great comments, Dawn, about making sure you've got everything in writing as well.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Carrie Lee. Yeah. These are some good examples. And the other thing one more thing I want to say is that depending on the term of your lease, I talked to someone yesterday who's month to month. So she's in a fortunate position. But if you've got a 5-year lease and you're 4.5 years into your lease, you have some really strong negotiating opportunity. So take a look at where you are in the term of your lease as well, or in the term of if you've been paying 30 days to your suppliers and you've been dealing with the same suppliers for 5 years, you've got much more room for negotiation. You're an established customer, and 90 days is going to make, as Carrie Lee mentioned, that's going to make a huge difference in your cash flow. Okay, some great examples there. Thank you, everyone. I want to touch base on innovation, about building resilience and innovation. Building resilience really is innovation. You know, now more than ever, this is the time to work on your business, not in your business. If you're not working in your business, I've had some clients say, this has provided me with an opportunity to finally look at how do I go online? You know, how do I take my service online? Many of you are familiar with some yoga studios, for example, that are using what's called a mind body app. And they're using that as their online system and bringing their classes. So certainly losing some subscription-based membership, but gaining more as well. You know, this is the time to stop and ask these questions. What is working right now in my business? And this is something that is referred to as appreciative inquiry. It's a management technique where you look at the things that are working. What's working in my business right now? And how can I fan the flames? How can I innovate? How can I pivot in a way that I can do more of that? I gave an example last week, and I'm going to use the same example. A company, I'm in Victoria, and a company in Victoria that takes tourists on pedal bikes on these mobile pedal things. So they're no longer taking passengers. They're really good at getting people from point A to point B. And they knew they were good at that, but there's no tourists. So now they deliver everything's instead. They were really good at delivery and scheduling their drivers and making sure they had pay systems in place, mobile pay systems. So they took what they were good at and turned it into a different kind of a business. That's fast pivoting. If you've been thinking about going online, there are a number of our partner organizations right now that are offering how-to webinars for going online. There are 2 today. Futurepreneur is offering one, and also free of charge, and also the Vancouver Board of Trade. So take a look at some, you know, what are some other sources to learn. Now is the time to kind of hunker down and learn, how do I pivot? How do I get my products online? It's not a magic pill. It's not something that happens overnight, but there have been some great examples of my local pub is now online. I can't go to the pub and order a dinner, but they've set it up that they put the bags out on a table in the parking lot. Nobody goes inside. Nobody touches any money. You pay by Visa on the phone. They didn't set up anything elaborate. So innovation is the opportunity to look at what you're good at, what could you change, where else are your customers, and why? Why is a really important question. There's some great inspirational why information out there. A fellow by the name of Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K, you'll find him on TED Talks, talks a lot about the why of business and knowing why you do what you do, and understanding how you can change and be innovative by asking why is a powerful tool. It's another powerful tool that you can use, just like negotiating, just like understanding cash flow. And if the answer to your why is because we've always done it this way, that's the end of innovation. You can't innovate if you say, well, we do this because that's just the way we do it. Innovation comes from curiosity. How else could we do it? And there are some fascinating examples out there. I would ask you to share some of those. Think about what else. Examples, if you can, for our next opportunity for you to type into the chat, what are some examples that you've done yourself or you know of where businesses have made small or large changes or innovations? Click on chat and please do share your stories.
I know, Dawn, you invited, I believe it's Jenny, to join us today, and I can see her here, and I can unmute and allow Jenny to speak if you wanted to get her to share her story. So Jenny, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and you can let me know. I'm going to allow you to talk.
Yay. Wonderful. Thanks, Jenny.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. So do you have questions, or would you like me to just chat about what we've been doing?
I would love for you to just tell the story the way you told it when I was talking to you yesterday. You know, how did this all start?
Sure. So we are primarily an in-person business. We are sewing studio and retail store. And when we had to close our doors in the middle of spring break camps and tell kids that we had to wrap up early, which was obviously a really difficult decision to make, but we didn't really have a choice. And there was about one day where I was a little bit tearful, and then my surge of not giving up came in, and I was like, nope, I'm not laying down after 8 years and just closing completely. And so we started to figure out a strategy, and we offered online orders, free delivery for orders over $50 in our area, which people started to take advantage of right away. We do curbside pickup as well, so people can still come and engage with us through a glass window. We learned that tap works through a glass door, so people that don't want to pay online can still pay with their debit card at our drive-through window. And further than that, we were looking at what we could do within our skills, where we don't usually have time to sew for others because we're usually teaching and creating samples for the store. We got involved in the mask making, which is happening in cities across the world right now, or communities across the world. And so we've become a hub for supplies for people creating masks and other surgical caps and things that are necessary for frontline workers. And so we've ended up, even though there's only 2 of us here now, myself and 1 full-time employee, we're very busy, and it's been very surprising for us, but also it's a lot of work in a different way. Where we'd normally be in the classroom, now we're packing orders and liaising with people and answering endless emails and inquiries about how to make masks. So we're teaching, but in a distant way. And we found a lot of our community, our customer base, want to be able to contribute somehow because they're stuck at home and they also have kids at home. So we put together SOS craft kit supplies so that people could have that delivered to their doorstep and help to occupy their kids. So those are some of the things that we've been doing. I've probably forgotten some, but it's been a little hectic. But we just never thought, like, in a million years, we would have never thought that we would have had to close our doors to the public for a health emergency. And then trying to turn that into, like, what can we do to take advantage of this time? So completing the website, trying to get every product we can up there. So chipping away at that every week, and things that will actually benefit us when we can open up again and start doing some of the regular things that we do. And also investigating the opportunities to teach online, which we've never had time to really explore because we're always so busy with other things. So I think things will level out a little bit over the next couple weeks, and then we'll actually be able to start doing some forward planning and really investigate some of the opportunities in video tutorials and things like that that we've always had as ideas in the background, and like kind of take advantage of being able to do those things while there's no people coming into the store, so that we could actually film things. So we're just trying to turn a minus into a plus is basically the simple way of looking at it, I guess. I'm trying to stay happy, like getting dressed up instead of the first couple weeks. I think I just wore almost pajamas to work, and now I've graduated into wearing like real clothes again, and I feel a lot better for that. So get dressed, everybody. It's good. It helps.
It's so something new.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great. Thank you so much, Jenny. And
You're
to
welcome.
echo that, we have a comment, Dawn, that's come in from another person joining us, that she's saying, I now have the time to transition from in-person business to online, which will make my business disaster resilient and is the way of the future. So echoing what Jenny just said, you know, it's giving some people the time to spend and working on the business rather than in the business, right? But her question, which I'm going to defer to you, John, is about the loans, like a WEC. If she's applying for a WEC loan now, she's asking, is this considered a new business, or is it just my business transitioning? And what are the appetites for loans to businesses right now as they do kind of pivot to become more resilient? So maybe you can just touch on briefly our loan application process and the steps to follow to go through that journey.
For sure. Thank you. Thanks, Carrie Lee. And yes, I'll echo Carrie Lee's thanks to Jenny as well. Just it's great to have this input from our entrepreneurs. So to answer the question about loans, so if you've been in business and now you're pivoting and making changes in your business, that would be considered a growth, that you would be an existing business. Women's Enterprise Center provides business loans up to $150,000 for starting a business or growing a business or buying a business. The process, I want to explain first of all that Women's Enterprise Center didn't receive any additional funds through the federal government's emergency relief program for business. That you would do through if you're an existing business, you would do that through your typical bank or credit union that you're working with right now. That's where you apply for those loans. For our regular business loans program, the very first place to start is we offer bi-weekly business loans information sessions. And those are by telephone, it's all free, the sessions are free, and you will be connecting with a live business advisor who will lead you through all of the details of our loans program. And you can ask questions just like this kind of a session. It's all by phone. Those sessions, just click on the loans tab at our website, women'senterprise.ca, click on loans, and right on the left side column, you will see business loans information session. So that is the first step. It's important. We're a viability lender, so if you're an existing business, we're looking at your past financials, your future forecast. There's where your cash flow forecast comes in. It's not just for you to determine what does it look like a year from now, but for a lender as well, and see how important that cash flow forecast is. But take a look on our website. We've got the basic information for criteria, and then the business loans information session is the very best place to start.
And Dawn, the next one is on April 14th at 12 p.m., just so everybody knows. And I've put the web link in the chat box.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you, Carrie Lee. And yeah, that's soon. That's right after the long weekend that we're coming into. So Tuesday, check out our business loans information session, and that's for starting a business or growing a business or buying a business. So yeah. Okay. Any other examples and or questions? We've just had some great examples here of innovation. Anybody
Nothing else here in the chat,
okay.
Dawn. So if we want to move on, again, I've got a few questions. We'll get through the next couple of slides and I'll go back. It's more about the government programs. So
yes.
We'll try and answer those as best we can. But now I think we'll move on to the action plan, and then I'll filter through these questions and try and summarize it for you at the end.
Excellent, thank you. So building an action plan. Moving ahead with your ABC, making an assumption, right? Behaving and then having consequences. In the middle of that is that action plan. Set small achievable goals. You know, the saying goes that, you know, a goal is a dream with a deadline. You know, if it's got a deadline, if you've set small goals that are achievable, that are smart, you know, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and with a timeline, you're more likely to succeed at them. Break whatever it is you're doing into something that you can do tomorrow. Stay connected. An action plan, you know, with support. Stay connected with those people who believe in you and who believe in your business. It's also helpful when you're building an action plan in difficult times. It's important to remember past barriers that you have already overcome. As a small business, or a medium or a large business, you have already accomplished so much. Think about some of those early stage challenges. You did it. So that's going to help you with building an action plan of what you need to concentrate on now. Don't pick 20 things that you're going to do. Pick one goal and break it down into tasks. We have resources on our website. You can ask a business advisor. You can inquiry at women'senterprise.ca. You can ask for specific help on building an action plan, but it's an important step. If you take charge of today and what you can do today, just like the health part, what all of us in BC are doing today by staying home and following the rules is going to impact how long this health crisis hangs around. And it's the same with your business. Take charge today of the things that you can make a difference in, the things that you can control. Build that action plan. And just as Jenny said, at the end of it, your business will be stronger. You'll be stronger. Take the piece that's doable, not the piece that's the most overwhelming. If it's a cash flow forecast and you know you need to do it, dedicate some time. Say, I will spend 30 minutes looking at it. That's a good step. I'm going to spend 30 minutes just looking at it as a start, getting a handle on this. But set those achievable goals. Set out a plan. Make it doable. Help you find a buddy, someone who believes in your business to help you to be accountable to take a look at what you can control and what you can, areas where you can make a difference, and continue moving forward. Okay. And Carrie Lee, you were going to go back to some specific questions.
That's right. So again, Dahmer, it's going back. I've got the slide up with our contact information, so make sure everybody has that.
Yeah.
But just going back to the questions, and I know you mentioned at the beginning our COVID page where we try and put the most recent information, and the Canada government page is going to have the most recent. But we're getting a lot of questions, which we hear from a lot of our clients, and just out in, like I'm seeing the same comments on LinkedIn and different platforms. These sole proprietors, right, that aren't qualifying for any of the programs right now, because they've only declared that as business income on their taxes. Or I've got another one here saying most of our people are contractors, so it's not considered payroll, right? So they're in this limbo of not qualifying for anything. And I just did a quick double check to try and find if there's anything today, and it seems like we're still in that, I'm going to call it the limbo land, where people are waiting. And I think the best thing we can tell people is to stand by. Hopefully that's going to change. I know the government's listening. I've seen Mary Ng and a few people saying that we hear you, we're listening, we're trying to modify. So I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that, because we can't specifically answer those questions right now, unfortunately.
It's true. And I know that's frustrating for people, is you're trying to get information. We are too. We're keeping our page updated as we get the information. I did listen to the daily address from Prime Minister Trudeau this morning, who is talking about, flexible, that they're having to be flexible. They're dancing, I guess is the right term, as quickly as they can. Those were not his words. But trying to put into place things and understanding where the gaps are. So there is an understanding that there are gaps. And as I mentioned earlier, some of our senior managers are communicating directly in federal government meetings and with our connections through Western economic diversification, is relaying these challenges where sole proprietors, absolutely, entrepreneurs who use contractors, not employees, so they don't have those payroll expenses to qualify. These are some of the gaps. Some rural communities are falling in those gaps in terms of their credit union not participating in the loans program, the emergency relief funds. So there are gaps, and we don't have the answers. It is if you're in a small community and your local credit union is not participating, or your local bank or someone you're not able to access the information you need, I would recommend and have recommended, talk to your MP. They've got a direct line to what programs are available. And again, the advice is to document everything right now. We do not know what's coming down the pipe. It might be Tuesday, there's a new program announced, and these are the criteria by which you would have to qualify. If you've not documented, it's going to be difficult to pull up what's needed to qualify for certain programs. So keep track, document, keep asking questions. There are people that are falling through the cracks. Negotiate, ask for what you need, keep asking, and stay tuned to your fellow entrepreneurs in terms of what they're doing as well. There is strength in numbers. We are here to support you the best that we can. Some of the things we cannot control is what programs are available and who qualifies, but we sure will keep working to get information to you on the most relevant, the most important information and where it is that you can go. Patience is really hard to come by when you're struggling, but because these programs are still new and they're fluid, they're in a state of flexibility, it's hard to get through to the people that you need to get through, but those are the connections in terms of employee layoffs, who qualifies, what's a temporary layoff versus a permanent layoff. Those government websites and those programs that are different today than they were yesterday, that's what you need to stay right on top of.
Great. Thank you, Dawn. And as we wrap up, we're at the end of our time. We had Jennifer share a comment. So I think I want to share her pivot because it's a good way to end on a high note today. Yes. She says, I own a solar energy company and we are small. My installers have had to stay home to look after their kids during the week because their partners are working. So we are now installing solar energy system on the weekends. So again, just adapting, still able to run your business and keep people employed. That's so fantastic, but just changing the model. So thank you, Jennifer, for sharing that. That's a great way to end our session today, for sure.
That is a great way to end our session. You know, we couldn't do this without you as well. All of you who are there and willing to participate and work on your business. You're doing the right things. And we're here to support you, and definitely thank you for your participation today. And thank you, Carrie Lee. Again, everyone will receive an email with the links that we've talked about, and please do stay tuned.
Great, thank you, Dawn. Thanks, everyone. And we'll watch for our session next week as well.
Thank you.